there were just a very few Punjabis, who mainly Sikhs, who had decided to come to this country in the 1920s, just after World War I, actually. They had served with some Americans during World War I as a colonial power, and they got entrance into this country, and they thought that their fortunes might be better served in America than living under the British in India. It was a time when the West Coast was expanding their logging industry and their farming industry, and they found jobs in those areas. There were just a few hundred, very small handful. Now, in 1965, there was a major overhaul of the immigration policies in this country, and driven partly by the needs of the US, domestic and foreign. The domestic need was that President Johnson in 1965 passed the Medicare Act, and all of a sudden 20 million Americans had access to health care. At the same time, the Vietnam War was escalating, and all these people were going off to the Vietnam Wars, and they needed to send doctors to Vietnam to take care of these people. And a lot of wounded soldiers were coming back and needed to be taken care of by hospitals. And there was a shortage of doctors. So what did the hospitals do? Because the hospitals were overburdened, they looked overseas to fill the need. And India had, at that time, after independence, Nehru had invested in medical institutes and engineering institutes. And just when these people were graduating, but India was not able to offer them jobs and absorb this talent, America had this terrific need for them, and these people were recruited to come to the US. On the international side, Sputnik had happened. America was locked into this Cold War, and they were desperate to win the Cold War. And so they started investing heavily in military research and investing money into MIT and Stanford and all these institutes. But there weren't enough engineers. And so they looked overseas as well. And IIT was graduating these world-class students. And so they started recruiting them.